All right, so I speak to you today primarily as a learner, a privileged recipient of an excellent education in numerous formal and informal settings. My time here at George School was some of the most formative of my life, thanks to the many faculty members who nurtured me while I was here. It's an honor for me to return and share some of my experiences beyond this campus. I graduated from medical school just a month ago, and I have many years of training ahead of me, especially if I'm to become an oncologist. My time here was marked by problem solving and mentorship, which really propelled me towards my career path, even though I didn't consider medicine during my time at George School. Challenges and rewards of problem solving and receiving mentorship developed particular traits in me. They made me ever more engaged in my education and gave me a framework in which to teach myself. I sought new information in every environment in which I found myself, whether it was the prairie fields of Minnesota or the rural villages of Nepal. Over time, I found it was people, more than textbooks or syllabi, that were the most valuable and impactful sources of knowledge and guidance. I've had the terrific fortune of receiving mentorship from individuals who saw my capabilities and potential with greater clarity than I did. Their confidence in me gave me the ability to push beyond my comfort zones and to pursue ever more difficult questions. I believe that given the opportunity to answer questions that intrigue them and mentors to guide their thinking, students are able to pursue any career path. For me, this has culminated in a medical career in which I will be confronted by questions perpetually and will have the opportunity to learn from new individuals on a daily basis. One of the settings at George School in which my abilities were fostered was in Carter Sayo's woodworking class. And entering the shop for the first time, I was intimidated by the potentially dangerous and unfamiliar tools. Fortunately for me, in the introductory semester of Carter's class, students build just a small, simple wooden box using hand tools and nothing else. Under Carter's guidance, students learn to master the use of chisels, sanders, and planers. And within this limited tool set, they're able to approach the wood shop as a more friendly environment, and woodworking in general becomes a more feasible goal. Even within the boundaries of this assignment, you can see that students find ways to express their individual creativity. Once these basic shop skills are mastered, Carter introduces students to the larger tools and machines of the shop. With each new tool, students receive guidance as to how they may build ever bigger and more intricate pieces of furniture. In the transformation from a stack of rough-cut boards to a smooth and finished piece of furniture, students are confronted with a series of questions and obstacles which must be resolved in order to make their final piece. My first self-designed piece was a bookcase, the sketch of which you can see in the top left corner. While dreaming up the possibilities and designing the final sketch was relatively easy, I was full of questions but had no real answers as to how I would actually make this bookcase. But fortunately, with Carter's guidance, I was able to answer these questions. What were the proper tools to be used? How much wood was required? What dimensions were functionally and aesthetically appropriate? So with Carter's guidance, I learned to approach these problems in a stepwise fashion and gain confidence in the process. With each new project, I was building and designing with greater confidence and independence. As this occurred, my confidence in my own abilities grew and expanded to other areas of my education, which I didn't recognize at the time. In the back of my mind, there was this question: if I could learn to create these pieces, what else might I be able to do? So these pieces of woodworking have followed me throughout my career after graduating George School as constant reminders of this question. My experience in woodshop embodies the two aspects of an education I believe are essential for students to be prepared for a rapidly changing world: learning to ask and answer pertinent questions in pursuit of a final goal, and the guidance of supportive mentorship. I believe the following three questions are pertinent to any area of study and can guide the students throughout the challenges they encounter in the academic scene and the world beyond. First, what are the desired goals of one's efforts? What materials or tools are required to meet that goal? And who will guide you when the skills required exceed that beyond your current capabilities? As my education proceeded, I continued to seek out creative outlets and mentors to guide me through the problem-solving process. Instead of bookcases and benches, my attention was drawn towards biomedical research, healthcare, and the joys of building relationships with individuals from diverse backgrounds. Discovering the molecular processes that enable each of us to perform our daily tasks was compelling for me. At Carleton College, I was drawn to the causes of diseases and the challenges of their treatments. I wanted to contribute to these treatments, and as I participated in research at numerous institutions throughout the country, I found that the pursuit of a scientific hypothesis was very similar to the stepwise problem solving I utilized in woodworking. In the new setting of pipettes and cell cultures, I found that I still had to define the goals of my investigations, identify the tools that would enable me to reach those goals, and find the mentors who would redirect me when I doubted my abilities. During medical school at the University of Pittsburgh, I became particularly interested in cancer metabolism. What regulates the consumption of fuel sources within cancer cells, I wondered. This was followed by two more questions. What techniques and materials will best enable me to understand this aspect of cancer biology? And who are the faculty members who will guide my critical thinking? Similar to my entry into woodshop, the materials and techniques required to pursue this avenue of cancer biology were completely foreign to me. I had never touched an animal model. I had never worked with fluorescent imaging techniques. I wondered if my technical and intellectual capabilities were sufficient to elucidate this aspect of cancer biology and bring about meaningful data. Experiments were nerve-wracking at first, and I could sit for hours planning an experiment before I would actually mobilize to gather data. If the experiment did not yield meaningful data at first, I would procrastinate before attempting the technique again. In the world of scientific research, these are costly mistakes. Fortunately for me, I encountered numerous mentors throughout my medical school career who believed in my ability to conduct impactful research and pushed me out of my inertia. I made mistakes at the lab bench, but I learned to accept them as learning lessons and move forward. When my efforts and those of my collaborators culminated in my first publication, I felt I had made a significant transition in my scientific capabilities. I now intend to conduct research throughout my career, pursuing more questions in the effort to improve healthcare. In addition to cancer research, the other prominent learning process during medical school for me was treating patients. Each patient I encounter, I ask myself a similar series of 3 questions. How can I alleviate my patient's ailments? What are the appropriate tests required to elucidate the cause of disease? What therapies will bring them cure or relief? And who are the faculty members who will expand my knowledge and guide my thinking if I'm unable to identify the cause of disease on my own? With this framework in mind, the approach to treating a patient has transitioned from a seemingly overwhelming task as a first-year medical student to a challenging but fascinating puzzle. My greatest joy in entering the medical profession, well beyond the research and the science of medicine, has been the opportunities I have had to ask and answer questions that enable me to connect with each patient as an individual. The intricacies of building a therapeutic partnership with my patient is the challenge that engages and motivates me the most. Every patient I encounter, I seek to tailor my interactions to that particular individual through these 3 questions. How can the patient's concerns be addressed? What language should I use to allay the patient's fears and educate him about his health? Who will help me connect with a patient if I am struggling to do so at first? As for this last question, the mentor in this case is more often than not a faculty member, as was true for my previous examples. I have found that given the opportunity, my patients or their family members will mentor me in how to best care for them. They provide me with windows into their lives, personal successes and struggles that enable the makings of a relationship beyond CT scans and lab values. Stepping outside of the classroom and into patients' rooms, I have learned that there are mentors all around me. I need only look for them. The hospital can be an intimidating place for a newly minted doctor. Once again, I expect it will be my relationships with my mentors, both my patients and my attending physicians, who will help me navigate these challenges. The facts acquired during one's education may be forgotten over time, but the process of asking questions and problem solving to reach a goal is a lasting approach that can be used throughout one's lifetime. As students approach these problems and answer their own questions, they gain confidence in their abilities to navigate ever greater challenges. Environments that were foreign or intimidating become grounds for discovery and accomplishment. With the added benefit of invested mentors, I believe students make a transition from not only being able to confront a rapidly changing world, but to contribute to it. This has certainly been the case for me. As I move forward in my career, I intend to contribute not only by conducting research or seeing my patients, but by passing on the tremendous gift of mentorship that I have received. To the students in the audience, I wish you inquisitiveness to self-direct and enrich your education. I wish you mentors who will push you out of your comfort zones, who will promote your strengths and recognize your weaknesses as opportunities for growth, whose faith in you will encourage you to pursue your greatest ambitions. To the mentors in the audience, I wish you the joys of watching your mentees excel, and that you never underestimate the impact you may have on young and impressionable minds. Thank you.